Hi, welcome back to McGinn's Woodshop. Yesterday we were doing some shows and watching the Summer's Woodworking Show. I was also part of the international show there. And they were discussing the planer blades. That made me realize that I haven't even opened my planer yet and changed my blades, even though I have 3 extra sets of blades. I've been getting some chip out, so I know my blades are dull, and I'm doing my yearly maintenance on my tools and getting everything up to par, so to speak. So I've decided today to do my planer and get it all cleaned up, also get the blades changed. And I noticed the new blades that I have still have the manufacturer marks on them from the manufacturing grinding, so I'll also sharpen those up a little bit and just define the edge and smooth off the face of the blade. So let's go ahead and get into this. Again, I've never opened this before in my life, or any planer in my life. This is the first one I've ever owned, and this is the first time opening it. So maybe I'll just give this a quick sanding as well afterwards and give it a new paint job. While I have this apart, I might... Oh, look at that. There's the blades right there. I just have to take the guard off. Actually, I'm just looking at it now, and on that show last night, Mac Cremona was showing us his. He has a whole different type of planer. But if you can see right here, there's these nuts, and I'm glad I watched the show, because those are the actual nuts I think I have to loosen in order to loosen the blade against the side and pull it out. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself a little wrench, loosen these up a little bit, see where that takes me. This is why I love YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't have known, I would have been too intimidated to open this up and change things, worried that I couldn't get it back to the way it's supposed to be. If it wasn't for seeing Matt Cremona open his and show me how simple the blade setup can be. Okay, so the blade is moving now. I just got to figure out how to get it out. So there's one blade out. You can see how it's pretty rusty. Oof. And I don't know how well you can see that. The blade's not all that good, looking good. So no wonder I've been getting some pretty bad cuts. If anything, it's rusty and still has the manufacturer grind on it. So even with the out of the box cutting, it was still cutting decent up until a little bit ago. So there's one blade. I'll take the holder out so when I turn the wheel around it doesn't fall out into the machine. And that's all this is. It's some bolts, and when you loosen them you can tighten this against the wall and it holds the blade in. Okay, so I got those blades out. I'm going to give it a little clean. Some debris in there. So I'll be using a brand new set of blades here. They need a little cleaning up. They got some tape on them. They were stored in some tape, and plus they still have the manufacturer edge on them. Let's see if I can scrape it off with a razor blade. There we go. Okay, so now I got all the gunk off. I'm left with the manufacturer grinded blade on the edge here. And the whole point to sharpening, obviously to make it sharp, but what is sharp? Well, sharp is where the back of the blade and your face of your blade, or the bevel, meet at a single point. And that single point, the finer that point is, the sharper it is. So the idea is to sharpen it to the angle, and then we're going to flatten it to the back. And that way, we're going to try and make these 2 points meet at the most precise spot, but not so precise where it bends real easy. Too sharp can be not as good sometimes. I do like to be able to cut paper with this though. So we find the bevel. And I'm just bringing it down the blade. Once you get that burr on the back, you want to break the burr off. Just go ahead and put it flat against the back and work that burr off. You shouldn't feel that air anymore. Your blade should start feeling sharper. Okay, so this is my more coarse stone. Then you want to go and polish it off a little bit and use a less coarse stone on it. And just basically the same process again. Again, I feel a slight burr on the back. I'm going to work it off. As a test, I'll pull a piece of paper through it. If I can cut paper, then I'm happy with the sharpness. Now I'll switch the blade around. This time though, I'm going to make sure the blade itself sticks above the clamp. I should have a piece of wood in between these. I don't know why I'm not doing it now, but I'm not. The blade above the clamp, nice and tight, you can't move. And now let's clean up this end. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my mineral spirits and wipe down the blade holder just to make it look clean and new, because you might as well. I took a minute to stop and say, okay, I need groove up and nuts down. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in that way. Okay, so now that the blade's all sharpened, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in. This here feeds from the other end and comes through this way. So the blade spins down. So I'm going to put the bevel facing that way. You can see what these two screws are supposed to do. They didn't do this for the other blade. They're for aligning the blade depth. So I'm going to screw this in pretty far because these blades are a little wider than the manufacturer blades. Okay, so we went ahead and we took the cover off here, the safety guard, and we could access the blades from there. Took the blades out, sharpened them, put them back in, realigned them. Aligning them was a little difficult. I ended up taking about an hour or so to figure it all out. I had a lot of help from Patrick from Patrick's workshop. He suggested I use feeling gauges, and so I took enough of them out to get the depth that I wanted, and I was able to use that along the entire surface to make sure that I had an equal depth along the way. That helped out a lot. I appreciate that. I'll be using that for a lot of other things other than just this. It's kind of sparked the use of that tool, so to speak. I had it in there for a while, but I've never really thought to use it. So there it is. Now I will. So yeah, I set the blades, and I had to look up in the manual. I'm not sure what it is in Imperial, but it's 1.5 millimeters for this tool here in particular. You can just go on Google and find the actual depth from your manual, or look into your manual that you have. So anyway, I got this back on, and we're going to go ahead and do some test cuts. And with this Lazy Susan, again, another tip from Patrick, is to get those shots and be able to spin it and show you both ends as it comes out. So I'll take a couple different shots. I'm going to try some different woods, hardwoods. I've got mahogany, hard maple, and cherry that I'm going to go throw through this to see how it surface planes it. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you have any questions or comments or any better ways of doing things, go ahead and leave a comment. I really do appreciate knowing other ways of doing things, or just insight. Never know where it'll help in the wood shop. So here's the board before starting. Let's see what it looks like after. Nice clean cut, no tear out. Looks great. It's actually shiny. Wow. I can't believe I've been living with this unsharpened for so long. Okay, test number 2. Again, we have some nice, it's nice reflective, it's like smooth, like I sanded it. And you can see nice clean chips come off it. The only thing, I got a little bit of blowout here. Eventually I've seen a couple jigs with some beds I'd like to chuck in and build into this. But for now, this is what we're doing. Okay, and now we're going to go for the cherry. Really makes a difference. So nice. I am now kicking myself for not getting in and sharpening my blades sooner. That's, you know, I mean, for the time it took to sharpen my blades, it saves that much time than I would use in sanding every single time I would have to sand a piece. So let's go ahead and do the other side. You can see this is all has burn marks from the table saw. I'll go ahead and do that, clean that up just because I can.